The moment the board called me in, I knew my destiny was shifting. I had spent 15 relentless years at TechVantage, a company that prided itself on innovation but worshipped youth above all else. That afternoon, I found myself seated in a modest conference room, a room that had witnessed both my greatest triumphs and my quiet despair. Across from me sat Melissa Carter, my direct supervisor, her expression a carefully rehearsed mask of corporate regret. Next to her, Tiffany Harper from Human Resources exuded an air of detached professionalism. Before diving deeper into this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know where you're watching from, and if stories like this resonate with you, consider subscribing to my channel. Tomorrow, I have another special story waiting for you. Melissa's voice, cool and measured, cut through the silence. Alexis, after 15 years of service, we're restructuring your role. The company is moving in a new direction. She slid a manila folder across the table. Inside, I knew, lay a severance package detailing 2 weeks' pay for every year of service, 3 months of continued health coverage, and a list of career counseling services I doubted I'd ever need. I maintained a calm exterior as I accepted the folder, though inside a storm of emotions raged. I had expected tears or angry protests. After all, here I was, a 55-year-old woman in the tech world, constantly undervalued and dismissed. Instead, my voice came out steady and composed as I replied, "I completely understand." Their eyes searched mine for signs of despair or anger, but found nothing more than a quiet, unyielding determination. What they hadn't known was that I had been preparing for this moment for weeks. A misdirected email thread had hinted at my impending exit, a polite yet damning request to clear out my desk by the end of the week. Melissa continued, "We'll need your key card, company laptop, and phone before you leave. Your team will be notified shortly." I couldn't help but think of the 6 brilliant engineers I had personally recruited and mentored over the years, the team that had helped me develop a breakthrough distributed processing algorithm. This algorithm had not only powered TechVantage's flagship product, AccountSphere, but also garnered acclaim from some of the world's most influential Fortune 500 companies. As I sat there, I could almost hear the faint murmurs of sympathy from junior developers and administrative staff, glances filled with pity and the awkward hope of a future LinkedIn recommendation. But I wasn't about to become another forgotten casualty in a corporate purge. I had a secret weapon, a refined version of my algorithm that I had been developing on my own time, far from the prying eyes of a company that never truly valued its innovators. I excused myself and made my way back to my personal office, a space filled with reminders of a career marked by both professional achievements and personal sacrifices. There, I pulled out my personal phone and sent a single, definitive message: "It's happening. Friday is my last day." The reply was instantaneous and electrifying, perfect timing. "Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize details." A slow smile crept across my face as I glanced at my calendar. Today was Wednesday, meaning that in just 2 days, I would be free from the stifling confines of TechVantage. That very evening, I met with Greg Sullivan, the charismatic CEO of Precision Systems, TechVantage's largest competitor and a man who understood the true value of innovation. We convened at Meridian, an upscale restaurant that boasted a private dining alcove shielded by elegant Japanese screens. The ambience was intimate and refined, a stark contrast to the sterile boardrooms I'd grown accustomed to. Over a dinner of perfectly seared steak and a side of witty banter, Greg confided, "They never appreciated what you created, Alexis. They took credit for your hard work and pushed you aside. It's time someone recognized true talent." I sipped my water thoughtfully, recalling the moment when I discovered that the patent application for my distributed processing algorithm had been neglected by TechVantage's legal team, a careless oversight that masked a much deeper betrayal. I had quietly begun refining the algorithm on my own, meticulously documenting every improvement with timestamps and detailed development logs. When I eventually filed for a patent under my own name, It was as if I had reclaimed what was rightfully mine. Greg leaned forward, his eyes glinting with excitement. The paperwork is finalized, Alexis. As soon as you sign, Precision Systems will acquire exclusive licensing rights to your patent. You'll be announced as our new Chief Innovation Officer, complete with a 7-figure signing bonus, substantial equity, and ongoing royalties for every product that uses your algorithm. The promise of recognition and respect was intoxicating. I thought back on countless board meetings where my ideas were either ignored or repackaged by my male colleagues. Here, at Precision Systems, my expertise was celebrated, my age and experience seen as invaluable assets rather than liabilities. We toasted to new beginnings with a clink of glasses, a moment that felt both triumphant and surreal. Over the next few days, while I maintained my calm professional composure during exit interviews and knowledge transfer meetings at TechVantage, my mind was already racing with plans for the future. Every interaction, every farewell, was laced with a quiet satisfaction knowing that I had prepared meticulously for this turning point. I left behind a trail of detailed transition notes, every project, every password, every process documented in black and white. These notes were not merely a courtesy, they were evidence of my diligence and the stark contrast to the corporate negligence I was leaving behind. I distinctly remember my final exit interview. Tiffany Harper from HR methodically ran through a checklist, emphasizing that any intellectual property developed during my employment remained the property of TechVantage. I corrected her with a gentle firmness: anything developed on my own time, using my own resources, remains mine. Her eyes widened ever so slightly, but she quickly resumed her routine as if I hadn't just challenged the very foundation of their policies. Outside that room, whispers began to ripple through the corridors, whispers of an innovative mind who had chosen to reclaim her worth rather than be silently discarded. That night, as I packed the final remnants of my personal life, family photos, conference badges that chronicled a 15-year journey, and even a coffee mug gifted by my team, I paused to wrap a small award I'd received for my groundbreaking algorithm. The irony was not lost on me. Here I was, carrying a symbol of achievement that had been used against me by a company that valued appearance over substance. Melissa Carter, who had once maintained that corporate restructuring was business, now seemed almost pitiable in her misguided rationale. "Business is business," I replied calmly, meeting her gaze as I loaded my belongings into a cardboard box. "But true innovation is personal." With my keycard surrendered and my personal effects in tow, I walked out of TechVantage's glass headquarters for the final time. I paused at the entrance, stealing one last glance at the building where I had given my heart and soul for so many years. Unbeknownst to the executives inside, who were busy strategizing how to reassign my responsibilities among younger, less expensive employees, a storm was brewing, one that would soon upend their carefully crafted plans. In less than 72 hours, the same conference room that had witnessed my farewell would host an emergency crisis meeting. That Monday morning, I dressed in a sharp charcoal suit, a power outfit I had purchased specifically for this day of rebirth. At precisely 7:30 a.m., a sleek Precision Systems town car arrived to whisk me away to a new beginning. The press release was set to go live at 7 a.m., heralding my arrival as the new Chief Innovation Officer and spotlighting my revolutionary patent. Headlines screamed of a strategic coup that had shaken the very foundations of the tech industry. Inside my new corner office, with expansive floor-to-ceiling windows framing the vibrant city skyline, I marveled at how swiftly my world had changed. Industry newsletters were already abuzz with news of my appointment. The announcement was crafted with meticulous precision. Precision Systems acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary processing algorithm, welcomes Dr. Alexis Morgan as Chief Innovation Officer. It was a public acknowledgement of my ingenuity, a stark rebuke to the dismissive culture I had left behind. By mid-morning, my phone began lighting up with messages from my former team members. Michael, my lead developer and one of the brilliant minds I had nurtured at TechVantage, texted in exasperation, complete chaos here. What did you do? I couldn't help but smile as I typed back, check your personal email, there's an offer waiting for all of you. One by one, my erstwhile colleagues confirmed that they had accepted offers to join Precision Systems, excitedly anticipating the change that lay ahead. Back at TechVantage, however, chaos reigned. Victor Stevens, the once imposing CEO whose reputation had been built on charisma and aggressive decision-making, now found himself entangled in a rapidly evolving crisis. Inside his conference room, he paced anxiously as the company's general counsel and chief financial officer bombarded him with questions about the mismanaged intellectual property and the fallout from my departure. With every minute that ticked by, TechVantage stock tumbled further, and investors grew increasingly unsettled. Rumors spread like wildfire, whispers of an impending collapse, of a company so blinded by arrogance that it could no longer recognize true talent when it was staring them in the face. I couldn't help but feel a tinge of bittersweet satisfaction as I watched the news unfold from afar. In my new role at Precision Systems, the respect I received was not only a vindication of my skills but also a promise of a brighter future for innovation. Greg Sullivan's office became my new command center, a place where every meeting and decision was imbued with a sense of purpose and recognition that had long been absent from my previous experience. During our first briefing, Greg informed me that early testing of my refined algorithm showed a staggering 51% boost in performance and improvement that exceeded all projections. They'll have to scramble to catch up, he remarked with a self-assured grin. Over the next week, as I settled into my new role, I became increasingly aware of the emotional toll that the transition had taken. Late at night, in the quiet solitude of my new office, I would reflect on the sacrifices I had made, years spent proving my worth in a system that often valued flash over substance. I recalled the countless board meetings where my voice was drowned out by louder, younger voices, and the sting of betrayal when my work was misappropriated by those too eager to claim credit. Yet, in those moments of solitude, I also found a profound sense of liberation. I was finally in control of my destiny, free from the shackles of an industry that had long dismissed me. The transformation wasn't solely professional. My journey had become a metaphor for the broader struggles faced by many seasoned innovators in America, a nation that celebrated youth and exuberance while often overlooking the wisdom and experience that came with age. In quiet moments, I found solace in unexpected places, a late-night drive down Route 66, the familiar warmth of a local diner where I'd indulge in a greasy cheeseburger and a side of nostalgia, and even in the simple act of sharing my story with a group of young engineers who reminded me of the boundless promise of the future. These moments of levity, punctuated by a healthy dose of American humor and a few self-deprecating jokes about old-school tech, became the emotional fuel that propelled me forward. Within days of my arrival at Precision Systems, the industry began to take notice. Not only had I secured my future and protected the work that had once been taken for granted, but I had also set in motion a series of events that would force TechVantage to reckon with its missteps. By Tuesday morning, a carefully orchestrated press conference was underway at TechVantage headquarters. The executive team, reeling from the sudden departure of their once trusted innovator, scrambled to present a united front. Yet, their confidence was fragile, built on promises that now rang hollow in the wake of my departure and the subsequent media frenzy. Meanwhile, Precision Systems' legal team and communications department worked in flawless harmony. With every passing minute, the narrative was shifting. My name, once relegated to a footnote in corporate presentations, now shone brightly as a beacon of innovation and integrity. Industry publications heralded the move as nothing short of a coup, one that not only redefined the competitive landscape but also underscored the importance of properly valuing intellectual contributions. One particularly charged moment remains etched in my memory. During an emergency meeting held at TechVantage, Victor Stevens himself sent me an urgent email, a plea for clarification that reeked of desperation. "Alexis, there appears to be a misunderstanding. Please call me at your earliest convenience to discuss. I forwarded the message immediately to Precision Systems' legal department. It was too little, too late. By the time TechVantage's legal eagles scrambled to piece together the disarray of internal documents and transition notes, the damage had been done. Their flagship product, AccountSphere, which had once been the envy of the industry, now stood on a precipice of collapse. Investors were in a tizzy, and major clients began inquiring about switching alliances. For me, the culmination of these events was not merely a professional vindication, it was personal justice. I recalled the many nights spent burning the midnight oil, meticulously refining the algorithm that had become the cornerstone of my career. I remembered the quiet frustration of watching my ideas being watered down and repackaged, only to be presented as if they were born of some collective genius rather than my singular vision. That frustration, once a bitter pill, had transformed into a powerful drive for change. I resolved that no one else would have to suffer the indignity of being sidelined by a system that valued appearances over substance. By Friday, the full impact of my departure had rippled through TechVantage. The company's stock had plummeted by over 20%, and even long-time investors began questioning the leadership. Rumors swirled that the company might be forced to negotiate licensing agreements with Precision Systems, a proposition that would not only devastate their profit margins but also force them to acknowledge the source of their technological prowess. In a twist of fate that was both ironic and deeply satisfying, my former team members, each a brilliant engineer in their own right, had already transitioned to my new company, leaving behind a void that TechVantage struggled desperately to fill. That same Friday, as I wrapped up my first full week at Precision Systems, I received a call from Michael, my former lead developer. His voice was tinged with both relief and excitement as he detailed the unfolding chaos at TechVantage. "Alexis, it's like watching a train wreck in slow motion," he said. "They're trying to recreate your algorithm from scratch. They claim it'll take 6 months. You know better." I couldn't help but chuckle. "Michael, if they had even half the passion and precision we have, they'd be done in half that time," I replied, the humor in my voice belying the underlying gravity of our situation. In the days that followed, I found myself at the center of a maelstrom of media attention. Tech industry journals, technology blogs, and even mainstream outlets were captivated by my story, a narrative that combined corporate betrayal, intellectual triumph, and the raw resilience of a woman who refused to be silenced. Invitations to speak at conferences and panel discussions flooded in, and I took each opportunity to share not just the technical intricacies of my algorithm but also the broader lessons learned from years of navigating a hostile corporate landscape. One particularly memorable event was the National Innovation Summit, held in a grand convention center bathed in the golden light of early autumn. As I stepped onto the stage to deliver the keynote address, the audience, a sea of industry leaders, tech journalists, and aspiring engineers, rose to their feet. The energy in the room was palpable. I began by recounting my journey, weaving together anecdotes of personal sacrifice, the sting of betrayal, and ultimately, the triumph of reclaiming my intellectual property. I spoke candidly about the long nights spent meticulously documenting every line of code, the small victories celebrated over cups of lukewarm coffee in a cramped office, and the heart-wrenching moments when I felt invisible in a room full of voices. I challenged the audience to rethink the way we value innovation. Innovation, I declared, is not an anonymous process. It comes from real people who pour their passion, their sweat, and sometimes even their tears into every breakthrough. It deserves recognition not just in the form of a title or a bonus, but in the acknowledgement of its true creator. The applause that followed was thunderous, a powerful affirmation that my message resonated deeply with those who had long struggled for recognition in a rapidly changing industry. In the aftermath of the summit, my story became a rallying cry for many seasoned professionals who had been marginalized by a culture that prioritized youth and flash over wisdom and hard-earned expertise. I received countless messages from young engineers, some barely out of college, who thanked me for inspiring them to document every idea, every breakthrough, no matter how small. One bright-eyed woman in her early 30s wrote, "Your story made me realize that every line of code I write is a part of my legacy. I won't let anyone take that away from me." Her words, filled with hope and determination, reminded me that my struggle was not isolated, it was part of a larger, ongoing battle for respect and fairness in the tech industry. As TechVantage's internal crisis deepened, I kept a measured distance from the unfolding drama. I knew that any attempt to re-engage with my former employer would only serve to stoke the flames of corporate retribution. Instead, I focused on building something new at Precision Systems, a company that valued innovation, nurtured talent, and recognized that true breakthroughs come from collaboration rather than exploitation. Over the ensuing weeks, my new role allowed me to spearhead projects that not only pushed technological boundaries but also fostered a culture of inclusivity and mutual respect. Our first major product launch under my leadership was met with rave reviews, and early testing of our refined algorithm continued to surpass even our most optimistic projections. One crisp Monday morning, barely 10 days after my departure from TechVantage, I led the inaugural meeting of our newly assembled innovation team. The room buzzed with a palpable energy, each member eager to prove that they were more than just replaceable cogs in a corporate machine. This, I told them, is what development meetings should look like: passionate, creative, and unapologetically bold. You are all here because your expertise is recognized and valued. Their eyes shone with pride and anticipation, and I felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing that we were building not just a product, but a legacy founded on integrity and ingenuity. Even as I embraced this new chapter, the repercussions of my departure continued to echo across the industry. TechVantage's board was forced into an emergency leadership change. Victor Stevens was ousted, and the reins were handed to Richard Donovan, a man known for his calm pragmatism rather than flash and bravado. In a surprising twist of fate, Richard reached out to me directly via email. "Dr. Morgan," his message read, "Congratulations on your new position. I've been brought in to help TechVantage navigate the current situation. I'd like to discuss a fair licensing arrangement for your patented technology. We're prepared to acknowledge your contributions publicly and make amends for previous oversights. Are you available to meet next week?" I forwarded the email to Greg with a single, understated note: "Phase 1 complete." Greg's reply was swift and jubilant. This was the moment that vindicated every hardship and every long night spent perfecting my craft. I knew that while TechVantage scrambled to patch together a semblance of credibility, we at Precision Systems were already laying the groundwork for a future where innovation was both celebrated and protected. Months later, as I sat on the stage at another major technology conference, this time addressing an audience at the annual Women in Technology Leadership Summit, I reflected on the incredible journey that had brought me to this point. The story of a woman who had been cast aside by an industry that prized youth, only to rise again through sheer determination and a relentless pursuit of excellence. I recounted the challenges, the betrayals, and ultimately, the sweet triumph of reclaiming not just my career but my dignity as a creator. I urged everyone in the room to document their work, to stand up for the ideas that defined them, and to never let anyone diminish their worth. As the summit came to a close and the applause slowly faded into the hum of post-event conversations, I found myself surrounded by enthusiastic young engineers and innovators eager to learn more, not just about my algorithm, but about the principles of fairness, perseverance, and respect that had guided my journey. One particular conversation with a bright, determined young woman left a lasting impression on me. "Dr. Morgan," she said, "your story isn't just about technology, it's about finding your voice in a world that often tries to silence us. Thank you for showing us that our innovations are worth fighting for." Her words resonated deeply, reaffirming that my struggle was not in vain. In the quiet moments that followed the summit, as I sipped a celebratory glass of champagne with Greg in our new office, a space that felt more like a creative studio than a corporate cubicle. I allowed myself a moment of reflection. The journey from that fateful conference room at TechVantage to this moment had been fraught with heartache, betrayal, and the bitter tang of corporate indifference. Yet, it had also been a journey of transformation, a journey where every setback became a stepping stone toward a future where innovation was not anonymous, but celebrated. I looked out over the city skyline from my office window, the vibrant tapestry of New York City spread out before me. I thought of the countless hours spent wrestling with lines of code, the passion that fueled every breakthrough, and the quiet, steadfast belief that one day, recognition would come. That day had arrived not as a sudden stroke of luck, but as the inevitable consequence of a lifetime dedicated to excellence. In that moment, I realized that my story was far from over. It was a narrative of resilience, reinvention, and the enduring power of true innovation. Every challenge I had faced, every setback endured, had culminated in this moment of rebirth, a moment when I could finally say with unwavering certainty that I was in control of my destiny. And as I prepared to step into a future where my ideas would continue to shape the technology landscape, I couldn't help but smile at the irony of it all. Sometimes, the very forces that seek to diminish you can become the catalyst for your greatest triumph. So here I stand today, not as a victim of corporate machinations, but as a pioneer leading the charge toward a new era of innovation. An era where every engineer, every creator, every visionary is seen for who they truly are, a master of their craft, whose ideas deserve nothing less than full recognition. And as I raise my glass in a quiet toast to the future, I know that this is only the beginning. The battle for recognition, for fairness, and for the celebration of human ingenuity continues, and I intend to lead it with the same passion that has defined my journey from the very start. In a world that often values the fleeting over the timeless, I choose to honor every moment of hard work and sacrifice by forging a path where innovation is celebrated with the respect it deserves. My name, once muted in the corridors of TechVantage, now stands as a testament to the transformative power of resilience. And as the sun sets over the city, casting a golden glow on the skyline, I am reminded that every ending is but a new beginning, a chance to redefine what it means to truly own your innovation, to stand tall in the face of adversity, and to inspire others to do the same. This is the story of how a determined engineer, armed with nothing but her intellect and an unyielding spirit, transformed betrayal into a beacon of hope for all who dare to dream. It is a story of loss, of pain, and of ultimate redemption, a story that will echo in boardrooms and innovation labs for generations to come. And as I continue to build, create, and inspire, I carry with me the memory of every hardship, every moment of doubt, and every triumph that has led me here, forever grateful for the journey that taught me that true innovation is not just about technology, but about the courage to stand up, be counted, and change the world.